Please help us welcome on our CIO panel, the CIO of Amex Corporation, Chad Gosen. The head of IT infrastructure and operations at Zora, help us welcome Mark Gill. Senior Director. Help us welcome the Senior Director of IT at Skydio, Patrick Young. Help us welcome the CDO at HPE, Venki Rangachari. And our moderator for this session, please help us welcome the Chief Digital and Business Officer at Atomicwork. Help us welcome Atomicwork. Please, I was talking about the bot, the Atom. Please help us welcome Lenin Gali.
Hello. All right. I was thinking the builders panel was over, and the security guys will come, and the security panel will just kill that build, so we don't have to buy it. But we have to now talk about how to buy the AI software, and what is it that we're going to do. So first of all, welcome and thank you all for being here. And this is our first annual conference, and we called it Fusion. By the way, it took a while for Vijay to make the decision whether it is Fusion or whatnot, and so we landed on this one. So you can imagine, if we're so picky about the name, the quality of experience we build in the product is much, much better than that. So I think that is why we're rooting, and I appreciate you guys being patient and being here with us today. So without further ado, and obviously we only have 45 minutes. That's a lot of time for a panel. But I have a wonderful panel here. And by the way, I was not supposed to be here, but I am filling in for our friend Sumit Johar, Blackline CIO. So his father had an emergency, so he had to go to the hospital. So I am filling in for him. So they were very quick to change my picture even. So great crew here, so I appreciate it. So we'll go right into a few things. I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of an overview of your current role and what it is that you're doing at your organization in that particular role. So that way there's a context, because then I'm going to grill you. So please, Chad, go ahead, start you.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Chad Goshen. I'm the CTO of Amex globally. We're an Atomicwork customer. I was actually very excited to hear that you are going to integrate Atomicwork with Copilot, because we decided to go down the Copilot versus ChatGPT route. And we've been on our AI journey now for about 3 years. We started early on, first with automation, and then now fully taking advantage of building agents using Copilot Studio, and then deploying Atomicwork.
Excellent.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Gill, Senior Director of IT at Zora. I'm responsible for security, infrastructure, operations. Also an Atomicwork customer. Our journey is about 18 months in. You'll actually hear from our CIO in a later session today. That's Karthik. And you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff that he's asked us to do. We're moving fast. We've done a lot of work in the last 12 months around bringing in the rest of the company, doing work, understanding use cases, getting our landscape and architectures fit for purpose so we can move forward. We are definitely in V1 of this. We've learned a lot, but the context of my engagement today will be internally, operationally focused to the company. So I'm not part of the Zora product team. It's all about IT and operations for us.
Excellent. Patrick?
Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Young, Senior Director, Head of IT at Skydio. So I've been here for just a little bit over a couple months, but really the big focal point is all of internal IT operations, really focused on a lot of AI improvements. A lot of my past time is literally just focused on, if you spend 5 minutes doing a repetitive task, times that by how many employees you have, and even if it's something low weight, how can you implement to just start multiplying efficiencies? And it compounds over time. So I've built up IT organizations from the ground up for my last 3 careers, and I'm doing all that again at Skydio.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Venki Rangachari. I'm the CIO for HPE Networking. HPE is a $40 billion company. HPE Networking is a combination of Aruba Networks and Juniper Networks. We just closed our acquisition of Juniper Networks earlier in the year, so we're building the #1 networking company in the planet. Our mantra in HPE Networking is networking for AI and AI for networking. So we are the networking behind some of the top AI providers, the neo clouds, hyperscalers, and that business is growing to the roof. And then we have the AI for networks, which is the self-driving networks. We came up with that term in 2018, 2019, and that's taken a shape of us being kind of the promoter of that. So just like you have self-driving cars, self-driving networks, so AI ops to automate all your network processes. So I head up IT within the HPE networking group, and love to talk about AI. And by the way, I just came into the room a few minutes before the last panel, and I overheard the last question and made some notes about what software companies tell CIOs to make them. I saw anytime somebody comes and says, "Hey, this is easy to install," or it works as is. Now I know what it is.
No, I think the last panel really helped us basically figure out why we need to even buy a startup software, right? So I think the first question that I want to ask you is today, the adoption versus impact. Obviously, there is a lot of recent study by McKinsey said there's a 65% of the companies are actually adopting at least one AI application or capability in their organization, but then less than 25% of them are actually reporting that there is a significant impact or actually even value coming out of it. Is that because we are putting cart before the horse, or what is it that you think should the IT leaders and CIOs really report into the business or impact with AI? How do you measure? What do you guys think should be done in this? Right? Who wants to take it?
That's a big question. So I can tell you for us, we have a list of use cases a mile long, and we've implemented a number of them because of the ROI we thought we'd get. And all the ROIs are based on, right now, time saved, operational efficiency. We see more success in back office activity than marketing sales activity, because those are harder. We're discovering that those are harder to solve for. The simple things like, can I get a customer brief where I can go gather data, I can gather some insights from that data and provide something. It would have taken somebody 5 days to do that before. Now we can equip a senior executive with a document that actually was gathered in 15 minutes, right? So we're finding some ROI there, but the big ROI for us is still coming. It's further down the road, and we'll talk more about that.
Excellent. And go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I think somebody had mentioned it in the last panel. You really have to be targeted around what you're going to use AI for. Pick something that you can get value out of, and then really focus and hone in on that. And we did that early on, where we went through, we conducted a lot of different workshops with every single department and looked at the processes that they have and selected things that we know if we do X, we're going to get Y value. And that's been pretty successful for us, whether it's deploying Atomicwork as a replacement for ITSM, or even just taking a lot of the manual processes and now deploying agents that are actually taking place of individuals that were doing those manual processes. But the key, our CEO and founder sent me that article as well, right? And said, hey, how are we getting value out of this? And I was able to show him a dashboard with our metrics. Here's what it took for order processing before. Here's where it is now. Here's what it took for deflection rate before. Here's what it is now. So you have to have a very kind of focused effort And it's not just this shotgun, just, hey, roll out ChatGPT or roll out Copilot and hope that you get value out of it. It has to be very focused.
A quick thing as well, right? I mean, we are a customer-first company, and what's the top pain today in the marketplace, especially for hardware companies, right? And you look at tariffs, right? And tariffs are everywhere, different. It changes based on the day, based on the time of the day, right? And so we have an AI agent that optimizes global supply chain that basically can figure out based on tariffs, based on factory, based on inventory, and what is the right way to route these things. So we put footwear where there's high ROI. And the second area that we actually specialize in is the customer service area, right? And so when a customer opens a case, for a particular product that they bought, we have them go upload some logs or whatever it is, and an agent that searches out. And if it's a faulty part, it doesn't go to a customer service agent. The faulty part automatically, the RMA automatically ships out to the customer within 24 hours. They're given a tracking number, it does. So areas where we can automate, take the human out of the loop, use agentic AI in these use cases, right, is I think where we can do. And I think in our own networking products, when you use agentic AI, the first thing that comes in, hey, network engineer, can I help you expand your network? I see these blind spots over here. Why don't you put your access points in these areas? I see the congestion points over here. So we kind of have agentic AI guide them how to do the more optimal, network implementation, within the company. So those are some of the use cases that we use. And every time I go in front of my CEO, he asks, why can't it be? I mean, just this Monday morning, I was in a meeting and we had a dashboard of sales forecasting reports and business intelligence report, and saying, hey, Venki, when can I get an agentic AI where I can say, give me a report, and it'll just give me, instead of giving me like a dashboard of a portal of 20 reports, right? And so that's how we challenge ourselves. But I think these are some of the use cases that, start off with.
Yeah. And Patrick, for you, I know you've just recently moved from Applied Intuition to Skydio, and what's the impact? And obviously, being in a new role, what is it for you?
So one of the big things is always meeting. So supporting internal employees, one of the biggest things is how quickly you can get people online, how quickly you can respond. Even first response is tracked so closely in the resolution of time, but meeting them where they want to be, not just say, hey, come to a portal. So having an actual agent and a channel being the first point of triage for our employees, we're easily able to triage and be notified through dashboards that 22% of our tickets and growing are being deflected and answered by the agent itself, and providing that level of triage, pointing them to the knowledge they're looking for, or getting password self-service. So simple things that normally would have taken like maybe 5 minutes or time or less, a couple buttons, are now being solved first before it has to go to some person on my team in order to solve. So that, at the end of the day, is a better experience. People are happy, they enjoy engaging with us, and that's the type of environment I want to build and just lean into.
Yeah, so you're basically every one of you touched, specifically you choose where you want to deploy, and you have some sort of an analysis done either before or after to be able to thoughtfully deploy AI where you want and what you want to measure. And you also want to do something before you deploy it, at least have some ways to measure it. And I think these are important things that what you're suggesting. So one of the things that we have, there's always going to be AI enablers and AI detractors in the organization. There's always going to be some for change, also transformation, enablers. But how do you go from changing? Is there anything that you have to do while introducing AI in your departments or in the organization to change the culture or change the talent and other things that are typically required in any transformation initiatives that you're taking? And if you did any, what do you do?
Yeah, so we figured AI is going to be so impactful to the way that we're going to do business that it was really important to bring people on and the whole company on as early as possible. So we had, at least at Amex, we conducted a number of workshops educating people on what AI is, that it's another tool in our tool belt to use to be faster, be better, and so on, and get them comfortable with AI as a concept and just as a new mechanism to do their jobs. There were a lot of questions about, is this going to replace me? Is this going to impact me? And the reality is, I mean, we were very honest. Like, this is another tool, another skill that you have to learn. So it was through that communication, I think, before we even deployed our first AI tool, that really helped in that change management. And even now, we have an hour a week that we call office hours, where people can post questions, and I go on and I dedicate an hour of my time every week to sit down with anybody in the company, and they'll ask a question and we'll kind of walk them through the answer, and we've been just very open and transparent about it. And it is going to impact people. There are jobs that are going to go away as a result of it. But hopefully by educating people, they can learn the skills, right, to do that next job that AI creates. And that's been the communication that we've had.
So what was unique about this for us is, so I've been doing this for a few years now, and we've gone through new technologies and things that have changed. But what was unique this time is, this is a technology that most of our employees had been exposed to on their own already. Most of them already had their ChatGPT login. Most of them were already logging into some of these other tools. So they had a concept of what AI was. And when you start engaging with them and talking to them about the context of it in work, they come with a lot of information that we weren't used to them having. So we decided very early on, we need to include everybody. Like this needs to be a company journey, not a technical journey where we provide solutions to anyone. And so we just did something that we called Z Disrupt, where we had the entire company submit ideas. And I think we got 220 or 230 individual submittals. We judged them all. We got the top 8. The top 8 are getting to present to Teen, our founder, for real impact to the organization. It is a cultural transformation for us. The last thing I'll mention, and we were chatting about it before, is when you look at all of these ideas that came in and you look at the use cases on our list for where to go deploy AI, they are typically in the context of how people do their work today. Mm-hmm. They are, hey, I keep doing this every Tuesday. I sure would like to not have to do that anymore. Can I have an AI solution that helps me do that? Great. But I think where the real unlock is actually digging in and going, how do we actually transform some of these business workflows to use AI in a different way? Forget about the way you're doing it for the last 8 years. Let's actually rethink how to re-enable. So I have lots of examples there, but it was an unexpected revelation when we were going through all the material. So it's a big cultural change for us.
That's right.
So for us, at least in the last 2 places I've been at, the startups are, of course, Wild West. So in both these instances, especially at Skydio, it's more or less just rallying everybody together, making sure there's communication between the two departments, that we're having engagement between my department or other departments. But really what it comes down to is making sure, like the old, early 2010s, 2012, 13s, where shadow IT was a prevalent issue where everyone was signing up for their own SaaS platform for whatever use case. So getting in front of that has been right away one of the first things I've been focused on. But then putting those together and realizing what is really missed between departments that they're not even speaking. And so that's really been the driver for how it can be move forward and start consolidating and getting the impact from consolidated AI agentic tools.
Yeah, I think it starts from the top for us, right? I mean, starting with the executive committee to the senior leadership to the lead, below them, getting all of them trained on AI, what it means, identifying the use cases. So I think you got to start with education in the top. You got to identify those use cases. You got to define that common ethics, compliance, PEs. We have an ethics committee that all these use cases go towards, right? So I think it's developing that governance framework that really helps kind of build that, right? So.
But a perfect transition. I think the next question I was going to ask is the trust, building trust with AI. So I know what you are saying, there is already some sort of a pre-notion of using some chat GPT in personal use and public use and all of that. But when it comes to enterprise, it's quite different, right? I mean, you can't really bring the notion of whatever a chat GPT gives me is right and I'm going to use it and then do the things. And whereas in enterprise, you have to set some guardrails. You have to make sure that those policies and procedures and what information you share has to be relevant to the employee, their role, and all of the other things, right? So that's important. So obviously, that takes an effort. And you can't just introduce any AI tool into the organization and expect it to really work magically. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done. In your roles, what have you done to make sure that is set up in a way that you could introduce the innovation or the startups or the solutions, number one. Number two, you're also building internally. A lot of the initiatives, you're building a lot of internal solutions. You're also building agents. So the world is changing quite rapidly because it's no longer a human-to-human interaction. It's actually human-to-agent interaction, and agents-to-agents interactions are actually happening. So how are you managing that so to build the trust as a provider of employee experience? Because in the end, sure, every employee is IT's responsibility to make sure that you're ensuring that they're not in a wild, wild west and chaos, which is what we've seen with all the sprawl of applications and everything came back to you. Now say, hey, go fix all of that stuff because everybody went wild in buying SaaS applications. Now you have agent sprawl that could potentially happen if you don't do something. So you have anything to add to it? Maybe we'll start with Venki, you.
Yeah, I think I think we started off by building a framework internally, right? So we don't allow people to go to chat GPT, from within the enterprise, from our devices and stuff like that. We built an equivalent called Chat HPE. We ingested the data, from LLMs and built some of our use cases, primarily because a lot of the thing go towards protecting intellectual property. We don't want people to go into other tools, put our code, and all of a sudden this, the code that comes from different countries, different third parties, and you have your IP compromise, you have cybersecurity issues, your privacy issues that go onto it. We also want to ensure that data doesn't leave the company, right? And so we built a framework. At the same point in time, how do you balance that with innovation, right? So we built a framework that provides the fundamental set of tools internally, call it like building blocks, right? And then you have a governance and ethics piece where we have a committee with ethics and governance, cybersecurity, IT, businesses, all these sit on a single committee and sort of decide some of the use cases. Does it pass through all these different gates? And think of it in some ways like how, sometimes you might have a use case A, and there might be commonalities with another use case, right? You want to ensure how can you have the base foundation and have these models and these agents collaborate with each other as well. And so you want to build that foundation and you want to build a framework and ensure that you have privacy, security built into that. That's how we started. We kind of, because you get into this thing as a CIO, you get a different vendors. You have a CRM vendor that says, hey, I have AI. You have a HRIS vendor that says, I have AI. An ERP vendor that says, I have AI. And everybody wants to get your data, want to store your data. Everybody focuses on their use case, right? What happens if I have a cross-functional use case of doing it, right? I mean, I can't get the AI of AI, right? Some people are holding up, see the monitoring systems where you had a operating system monitoring, you have a database monitoring, you have network monitoring, then you have an agent that monitors all the other agents, right? You don't want to get into that in a phenomenon. That's why we kind of said, let's not have this autonomous piece. Let's have a foundational framework, and then we plug in best of play, best of breed in pieces onto it where you don't have the gaps, right? So that's been an approach for us. So.
Okay, and is that approach same as your internal agents as well as the vendor-provided agents, or how are you?
Yeah, it's the same approach that we use.
Okay,
For both.
all right, Patrick.
So more so in my previous role at Applied Intuition, really plus one to what you were saying as well, is building the common framework of approvals of how AI should be used within the company. It was probably one of the largest things. But since the company was very focused on AI to begin with for developing autonomous vehicles, one of the biggest things was really showcasing to all employees, this is what we're doing this is what I'm looking for to get your AI tool approved. Bringing that straight to them. So even though I was introducing layers of approval required, showcasing them what the layers were, and even allowing them to start that process even before it gets to us. So then by the time it gets to us, it's not IT approval, security approval, legal approval. It can all be done in one go. So really simplifying that approach. And when that went public and went live within the employees, it went from like 0 approved AI tools to like 16 in a matter of like 3 months. All focus on individual opportunities to grow and exponentially evolve each department's workflow.
That's great. Mark, you had at Zora started this journey into doing this AI initiatives, and you approached us at Atomicwork already trying a lot of things, agentic and applications, and you set a bar where we had to cross your team and your CIO starting with. So help us, everybody, understand how difficult it was for us to even convince you and the team.
So a few things happened to get us ready to have that conversation. And I listened to Venki, I listened to you, and I think, oh my gosh, it's $40 billion company, I think you said, and it's like you've got all of these resources, and we're so much smaller, 1,400 people. And so the first thing we did was make sure that anybody at Zora, outside of the product team, of course, anybody at Zora that wanted to spend on AI had to talk to Karthik, had to talk to the CIO. Like there are no more, I'm going and just if I can convince someone to give me budget, I'm going to go buy stuff. That doesn't happen anymore. And so as soon as you create that path, now we're able to start having real conversations about if what you're trying to do has AI in it, what does that mean? Here's how we're going to govern that. Here's how we're going to have a conversation about making the decision if we're going to invest in that. And so early on, Karthik wanted us to invest in some AI solutions. And so I still remember him saying to us, nothing more than a year. And by 6 months in, we need to know if this is working for us or not so we can pivot, right? That was, and it's still kind of that way. And so we had another small startup come and help us starting to build some agents using Slack as the interface medium. And it was really hard. It makes me dip my toe into the build versus buy conversation because it was an AI solution that we had to build. And as we got into it, a couple months into it, this is not the journey we want to take for service management, right? This is not where we're at. We need to be at a place where the fundamental construct is there. And where we focus on build is how we enhance and how we improve. And that's actually the journey that I think we've ended up taking with you. And I think that first step of seeing how hard it was to be 90% build, I think that's what helped us go, all right, we need to approach this in a different way. So
yeah, and I think one of the important thing was consistency, reliability, and also models were evolving faster, and the ability to really pivot and then understand what's really troubling or what's not working.
Yes.
So many things that were engineering, overhead that you had to take, and I think that we've also learned from that journey that.
Yes. Well, and now we leverage your teams now to help us respond when we see things happening. Part of it is us, but part of it is you guys, and you guys help us deal with that. So yeah, that's been good.
So Chad, you've been a pioneer. You've set the bar very high in for us from a quality standpoint, and it took a while for us to mature to be From the journey and experience that you've gone through, just from experimenting to really deploying an AI application and running it more than a year and a half now in production, what is it that you've learned from that process that you want to share?
So we spent a lot of time auditing any AI deployment that we have, right? Whether it's Atomicwork, we're constantly looking at analytics to make sure that we're getting the right answers. If it's agents that we're building, we're constantly looking at those dashboards and reports. But when you talk about trust, we're not at a point yet, or I'm not at a point yet, where I trust AI to do critical things that run our business without some sort of human in the middle. So, a very simple process like automatically entering a PO in our ERP system, 98% of that is being done by AI. 2% is a customer service person just double checking and hitting submit, right? And I don't know, but I think the technology will improve, and at some point it could be 100%, but we either have a human in the middle for all critical functions validating. AI has had a huge impact in making their job easier, right, and getting that 98% done. So for critical functions, there is a person that is going to hit approve before an invoice is paid or a PO is entered. And then for non-critical functions like ITSM, where somebody's just looking to create a ticket for help desk, there's the post-audit that happens in form of studying the analytics and making sure that there's no error correction that needs to happen. So maybe in a couple of years, we'll get to a point where we can just blindly kind of accept, but we're not there yet. And we do see errors. We do see errors all the time. There's still a little bit of that unpredictability that happens even in the best systems. And I wouldn't advise anybody to kind of pin their critical business function on those just yet. There may be others that disagree, but at least that's my own experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the build versus buy decisions come in, the risk versus reward comes in, the experimentation to deploying into production is a journey. And apart from all of this, the expectations. The expectations, like what Venki, you're talking about, your CEO wants, like something, hey, I'm doing these things, can I just rather have a summary of a report that I don't have to go through the dashboard and figure out myself? Can something give it to me so that I can do? And I think this is happening a lot in non-analytical roles where people basically don't want to spend too much time looking into analytical aspects of, okay, I don't understand this metric versus that metric. Why are they're not actually giving me the right answer? Who's going to answer that? So we're getting into some of these data ultimately coming back into with AI measuring impact and also understanding what it is that we are spending time in really the impact of that particular AI initiative. Justification is tied into those metrics. And so have you come across like some of the metrics that we define in modern service management? Is one thing we've also noticed, and obviously from our insights, is there are a lot of times when you have a traditional approach to tickets, people tend to open a ticket and wait for somebody to really respond to it. It gets routed and somehow it gets into, and there's a lot of back and forth happens, finally gets solved. But imagine if you have a question and you have to ask, and you go into the chat window and then ask those questions, and sometimes you just basically say, like, it's going to take time. I would rather not ask those questions because somebody has to get that question, because it's still a human-to-human interaction. But with AI agents, what we've noticed is the interaction's actually gone up. That means employees are asking more questions. That means it's not actually gone down. So the deflections that you're talking about, the interaction to AI agents by employees when you deploy them is going up. That goes to show that there is a lot more need that is being hidden, that is uncovered because of this introduction of something that is very personal to them. that is available in real time, whether it is Teams, Slack, or email, or even voice, whatever that you're actually bringing. So the idea of us bringing service management and flipping it over and then say, okay, what happens if you democratize the notion of having service management, going to a portal or going to the service agents, asking for help versus if it comes to you, right? And that flip is really what we brought in through Atomicwork. But one thing that we've noticed is everyone liked about what you liked about and other things is, could you share like what is exactly the impact that had on that? Like, you know, the transformation, the change.
I mean, there was a unanticipated benefit in deploying Atomicwork. And I think even now that we've rolled out Copilot Pro and we see people's questions and so on, there's an unanticipated benefit of truly seeing what kind of questions people ask. Because there are questions like, I mean, just think about you as a person. If you pick up the phone or you enter a ticket, there's a human on the other, traditionally there's a human on the other end that's going to judge you on what you asked. And sometimes it's a really, really stupid question that you don't want to ask the help desk, but you're going to spend a couple of hours trying to figure it out. Well, here, one of the biggest unanticipated benefits is people feel at ease asking a bot. The bot's not going to judge how stupid your question is or how think that, oh, you should know that already. What do you mean you don't know how to reset your password? Or what do you mean is this a phishing email or not? So there was that, and they don't know that we can see all the questions that they ask, and I judge them privately, but that's a different issue. But that was a huge benefit that from a security perspective, I saw that people were struggling, for example, with the phishing campaigns that we were having. They were too difficult, so okay, I need to put another task on our list of redoing the security training around phishing campaigns. So there's things that you learn from that by studying the analytics, and then there's things that just help people do their jobs better in answering questions that they normally wouldn't ask a human.
Yeah.
Our bot is called Zoe. We call it Zoe because everything at Zora starts with a Z. We're going to change the name to Zoe, a low judgment bot. No judgment here.
That's all right. And so, Venki, when you're looking at this type of transformation initiatives inside HP, is there a mechanism that is set in for you to really say, okay, what is it that you would recommend? Like, what are the things that you would recommend from your experience of introducing AI now so far, and then all the experimentation that you've been doing? Is there anything that you've learned that, hey, I think this is important for us, and then maybe it is also important for you to think about?
Yeah, I think, one thing that comes to fresh of mind is, I think, how do we do M&As, right? Typically M&As, you have two companies, two sets of systems, you put these bridges, and these bridges connects ones to the others, and, and then you migrate these, do large migrations, and this takes years. I mean, smaller companies take several months, and larger companies can take years, right? And the real issue with that is that I think it takes you off of, your go-to-market, right? My really thing is to go. The reason why we bought these companies is really to accelerate momentum in go-to-market, right? Instead of these bridges, what if I have an AI agent that does all the background work, right? It goes into system A, system B, gets all the data, reduces the friction from the end user, but can do the background grunt work, if you will, right? That's a new thing that we're trying in terms of, ours. I mean, ever since, we bought Juniper Networks, we're trying to do our, sales day one within 6 to 8 weeks. We're trying to have a very good employee day experience when people come on board, so we're thinking about a new way to sort of mirror systems. So I think that's an area which traditionally has been this large, multi-year processes, right? So
M&A use cases, that's cool.
yeah. So that's one thing that comes in. I mean, I come from a company that has traditionally done large transformations. We did a 7-year SAP transformation, consolidating 19 different SAP instances into one. Took about 3 to 4 CIOs,
Started while I was there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that era of multi-year or decade-long transformations are over. How do you sort of break down those silos with more agile approaches as anything area, right? So.
Yeah, and when it comes to introducing AI initiatives, I think Vijay was talking about 4 core experiences that we're talking about. Obviously, CIOs have the responsibility of making sure employee experience is considered the most important thing, because you're actually now steward of all of the applications and services and everything that you're introducing. How important is really employee experience now with AI in the era that we're in, because you're introducing something new that is completely different from in the past? Patrick, what is your take on it?
So for me, it's become more synonymous, like operational efficiency with employee experience is almost like 1-in-1 when it comes to IT now. So because our roles have expanded to not just keep the lights on or process a ticket, it's more or less how do we enable all employees quicker? And that operation leads to a better experience for all of our employees.
Yeah, that's right. So we have 5 minutes left, but I'm going to ask 1 or 2 rapid questions, and then we'll just open up 1 or 2 questions here. So I'll ask you one. What's the biggest blind spot IT leaders have when it comes to AI implementations?
For us, I don't think we realized or understood the impact of the state of our data and how it drove our ability to actually deliver successful solutions. We have a whole thread running now around, oh man, there's a lot of work to do there, so all this other stuff can deliver return.
All right. Anyone?
Just telling on the data set, I don't think we designed the data based on what the AI agents would be, right? And so we don't have this completeness in data. We have bits and pieces, and it may not be fully complete. I think that's always the thing, that you're making decisions based on not an imperfect data set.
All right. So what's the most overhyped AI use case in the business right now? Overhyped?
I would probably say platform AI, this whole concept of everyone, I think you brought it up, like everyone wants you to bring your data to their environment and they want to integrate to everything. So like Salesforce wants to integrate to all other platforms. Notion wants to integrate to Slack, wants to integrate to Google, and they want all your data and to consolidate and do this. So it's that whole platform experience, which I feel it's almost becoming a dime a dozen, and you have to really be a skeptic, but a healthy one, to really look into that.
So what you're saying is that everybody wants to platformize everything. So that means they want to be everywhere. All the data needs to come to them. That's the overhyped use case that you're seeing, like?
That's what I've seen the most of.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't need software engineers. You have an agent that writes code. You have 80% of the code. You have somebody does security scans. Somebody checks in, and you don't need engineers. There.
Yeah. So. One other last one. So if you had $10 million to invest in one AI initiative today, right? I want all of you to answer this. What would be that?
Yeah, maybe I have a slightly different answer. Maybe if I had $10 million, I would invest in more government affairs people within my company at this point in time. Gone are the age of globalization. We have US based, and you have made in India, Europe sovereign clouds. You have export licensing, different. I think in AI now we're learning all the different tariffs in different countries and how these government regulations work. And a lot of these are centrally managed as well. And so, that's, I mean, we had a team of 4 for a $40 billion company. And now, we're saying that, hey, maybe we need to add more. So.
Right. Go ahead, Patrick. $10 million. It's yours.
That is a hard one. You can actually do a lot with a startup for $10 million for AI. Ooh.
You can deploy Atomicwork.
Okay,
Take 10
I
million.
mean, yeah, that is definitely a
We'll take $10
possibility.
million.
That's, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind that. That'd be great. I'd love to deploy Atomicwork, in fact. I would probably say, outside of what I do, one of the most painful things I've ever done is consistently ship international equipment across customs. So some way to automate the process and have AI do all the customs. That to me is just
Some duties and all of that.
duties, DDP, all the different things. And if you miss one checkbox, it's gone.
It's gone.
Someone please tell me the secret sauce to ship a laptop to Costa Rica, please.
Tried. It doesn't work.
Somebody tell me. There's got to be one there somewhere.
You got $10 million.
That's not enough. I don't have the magic use case. I do wish that I could enable all of our senior leaders with a mechanism to ask whatever they want about a customer or an object that existed in our landscape and it's spread. We're all SaaS. We don't have anything on-prem, so we have all of these SaaS systems strung together. And I want them to be able to engage with the data set in a real-time sort of way to ask questions that are not predictable. I want them to be able to say, I'm thinking about this with these 3 customers today. I want some insights about that, and I want them to be able to ask that. And it be able to engage with them in a conversation and analysis about that. And that's my dream.
And you want something to be integrated into all of your entire ecosystem to be able to have one interface to be able to
in
ask
a
questions.
supportable, efficient way that would give them insights in a way that we just cannot give them today.
Right. Chat?
I mean, this is something that I haven't been able to solve. $10 million would definitely help, but it really enabling our sales team, like how do you sell more with AI? All of there's just so much veneer and hype about different solutions, but I've yet to find something solid that I can present to our CRO and say, hey, if we do X, it's going to get you more customers, right? So whether it's a mixture of both marketing and sales, but that building that ecosystem or that tool or even finding a partner, I'm surprised that there are no big startups down here that are really focused on sales. Maybe Salesforce, stomps them all out. I don't know, but that's kind of it would be the ultimate product that I can deliver to my group.
And these guys are so dedicated. They've only talked about their businesses and how they want to solve their enterprise problems. I was saying this is really, really very thoughtful of answers. I think we're on time here. But I could ask maybe one question if anybody wants to take. Let me ask this. How many of you have actually questions for these gentlemen? Okay, so there are only 2 or 3, so why not? Go ahead. Just 1, 2 questions, and then we'll just wrap. Oh, one is there? Okay.
Hi, guys. So you touched a little bit on data, but we as a partner, we do a AI assessment, and data is a big piece of it. Venkat, you mentioned that you have a framework. Can you talk a little bit about how data comes into that framework and how you assess that, the quality, the governance around it, cleanliness, all of that?
Yeah, so we have a data cataloging, tagging tool that tags the data. We have metadata that describes what kind of data there. We have data officers in the businesses. So each and every business has a data officer. We call them data officer. You can call them whatever, right? But they are responsible for quality of that particular data, right? And so the person who's closest to the data has a better ability to do it rather than centralizing and saying, hey, IT, you go have, a way to sort of cleanse all this data, right? And so we kind of democratized a governance committee, and each individual data steward in the committee are responsible for their own data. For example, for supply chain data, or for leads and marketing leads, or you'll have engineering systems data. So each and every data steward does that. Then they have a common cataloging system that goes into that, and that's how we kind of try to. I mean, I wouldn't say we're perfect at it. We try to keep that quality of data. So.
One question here.
Thank you so much, everyone. Very valuable insights out here. I'm Andy from Tech Focus. We work with a lot of CIOs. My question to you is, on an average, an enterprise uses 200 plus business applications. And all of them today are offering AI agentic platforms on top of it. On the other hand, if you had a whiteboard, would you look at one of the hyperscalers and build your own AI stack? Or would you continue to use some of these offered for your businesses, like Salesforce is offering some set of agentic to Workday, to everybody else? And how would you envision your next few years to be? Is it going to be 200 plus agentic platforms on these platforms? Or is it going to be one centralized AI stack that talks to this? Where would you look back and try to envision this for your organizations?
So I can say, at least on my side, one of the things I really wanted to get to is just a centralized system as consolidated as possible. One, you get, as we're all learning through this, the AI is not exact. Training and getting and rehearsing and rebuilding, that all takes time, and you're going to get that in the best experience when it's consolidated into one. So my goal is to break that down into one and integrate across, but really hyper-focus. So Atomicwork does come up into that, because with that integration across the board, by the way, I am not a customer yet. I'm advocating. I'm just saying what the capabilities of what I'm personally looking for. So bringing that data into one place, that one system, versus a new tool popping up and then now it has AI, and that's really what I want to see and what I want to build towards.
So one analogy I'd like to give is the evolving role of a CIO, right? And you have to look at a CIO of the future as a chief HR officer for the AI, right? What does an HR officer do? You have demands and skills and people and, resources. You have, various consulting companies, some over here are big four offering you their help, right? You need to figure out what are the skills that you need, what is the domain expertise that you need, and build the right use cases. That's the agent. The second thing, what does a CHRO do, right? Builds the HR policies and the governance models around it, right? And you need to build that framework around it. The third thing a CHRO does, among various different things, is figure out what's the KPIs, you might call it OKRs, KPIs, whatever, right? Figure out so you need to figure out what is that success metric, right? And so you almost look at a CIO as a AI champion, HR champion within the company, enabling that company. You got to build that base foundation for having a lot more of these agents and the AI agents or the non-human agents out there, right? So
I'll go real fast, I promise. In general, we are wary of SaaS providers coming at us with, here's our AI solution, especially if they try to monetize that solution on a pre-existing relationship. That's not something that we pursue very often. I don't anticipate that we would have one monolithic engine that runs. I think there are explicit and discrete use cases that separate some of the usage models where we are today. In 18 months, who knows where we'll be. But today, I can see 3 or 4 different use case pillars that would determine different technical solutions leveraging AI.
All right. One last question, yes?
Yeah, so I'm Giridhar. I'm from NuvaPro. We are a talent development platform. Just wanted to check, now AI, you're looking at it as a technology or it is integrated with different solutions. How are you looking at enabling your own employees to use or take advantage of that? Is it different from the previous technologies at cloud? You had all kind of certifications and all of that stuff coming in. Now, how are you looking at AI and how do you enable your employees to get the best of whatever tools you're going to be deploying there?
We've provided a lot of training for our employees, not just very specific to Copilot, because we did deploy Copilot Pro, both on the studio and building own personal agents. IT, we started this project about 6 months ago. IT's built 7 agents total that people can count on, that are predictable and so on. Our employees are up to 60 agents that they've built themselves, right? In a very secure, I mean, it doesn't, it's for their own personal use or their own little department. So this is where I was talking about, like, you know, bringing your employees and to be part of the journey, right? And it's amazing some of the ideas that people have come up with. And we'll look at those 60 agents that they built and pick the best ones and then, you know, redo them within the proper framework. But it's a great test bed of ideas, and it's a great way to have them participate and be part of that experience.
All right. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up. I mean, I can sit here and talk to these gentlemen for another hour, but we have a program to run. I really appreciate you guys taking the time and go through this process, and I really enjoyed having you all here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.